Hey boys, Aniso here, hope you're all having a great day. In this guide we want to take a look at one of my favorite POS 5 heroes being Chen. I think in the current patch, Chen got buffed a lot, so I want to make a guide about him. So the first spell that got changed is Divine Favor. Instead of providing a healing amplification on Divine Favor, the aura now provides armor, together with HP regen. I think this makes Chen a way better laning hero. Before, the healing amplification didn't give us a lot in the laning phase. It would amp up tangos like a little bit, but I think the armor is just way better, right? It's just reducing damage. Also, this makes it way better in later team fights for your creeps to stay alive. Right, the more armor your creeps have, the longer they stay alive. Like the healing amplification didn't provide as much to like all your creeps, and then also in a 5v5 fight, sometimes you just get stunned and then you can't use like your mechanisms and ultis and whatever. But with having armor instead of healing amplification, you will actually live longer to also use your mechanism and your ulti to heal up your allies. Then we got Holy Persuasion. The shard got reworked. The old shard, I believe, was like TPing people to base, which was kinda meh because the time just took way too long. But now we got the old Aghanims as the new shard. This means we can now dominate ancient creeps for each level of Hand of God. This means that after level 6 we can take 1 ancient, after level 12 2 ancients, and after level 18 3 ancient creeps. The ancient creeps are massive in Dota. Like the auras they provide are incredible. We will talk about the creeps later and I will explain them, but this shard is just really good. If you can buy this at like 20 to maybe 25 minutes, the shard is really freaking good and it gives a lot of benefits to Chen and all the teammates. Also, we got a new scepter rework. Before, the scepter of Chen, I think it just reduced cooldown, maybe give more healing, I'm not sure right now, I never built a scepter before. But in this, the Hand of God can dispel so much abilities. It's a strong dispel, so it can even dispel, for example, a Magnus ultimate, a Ravage, whatever, right? Shadow Fiend ultimate. You can dispel all those nasty teamfight winning spells just with one click of a button from all your teammates globally. So the Aghanim Scepter on Chen is now also good. So we get a better aura, we got a good Aghanims now, and a good shard. So for the skill build of Chen, in most games you want to start with Divine Favor level 1, just to give more armor and HP regen for your carry. Like Chen in the early levels is pretty mediocre and he doesn't really provide a lot because you can't dominate high level creeps with Holy Persuasion. That's why you usually take Divine Favor level 1. But if you want, you could also take Holy Persuasion level 1 and then dominate the range creep, just to double wave the enemies and also make it harder for them to get last hits and you can just harass them. That's also an option, but you can't really dominate any neutral creeps with 1 level of Holy Persuasion at level 1, because the creeps spawn at 1 minute anyway, and most of the time against good players they will block the first spawn of camps. So I would advise starting with Divine Favor. In some lanes where you have a lot of kill threat, for example with like a Slark or Monkey King that start Orb of Venom, you could even start Penitence level 1, but I'd say this is like the normal start. Just go Divine Favor, and then you max out Holy Persuasion by level 7. You take 1 value point in Penitence at level 4, and then every time you can skill your ultimate, you skill your ultimate. For the talents, usually I'd skip all of them. If you want, you can take the level 10 talent at level 10 if you think you need more health. But usually the spells are just better, unless you're dying a lot. We will max Divine Favor before Penitence, just because the armor aura is so huge in teamfights, especially if you're running around with like 4 creeps at like 13, 14, 15 minutes. And then all your creeps gain a lot of armor, your whole team's just grouping up with a lot of armor. It's really hard to kill your teammates at that time. Also with the mechanism that we will have at this time, like it's so hard to kill your teammates. For the talents, usually you take the health talent at 10. in some games you could also take the 250 damage, but I don't think dealing damage is what Chen needs to do as a hero. Then we got Penitence slow at level 15 every game, Hand of God cooldown on level 20. You could also take the minimum health talent if you want. It's also pretty good with Shard and Golems, I think. But probably you want to take the Hand of God talent in most games. Like that's just your best spell by far. And then at level 25 we want the Hand of God heal every game. For the item build of Chen, usually you want to start with Tango, Headdress, and then a Sentry. And then you send yourself like a salve with the first courier usage just to support your carry. If you think you have a really strong lane and your laning partner spams a lot of abilities and maybe you even start Penitence level 1 in some games, you could also start with Ring of Basilius for a mana aura, but in most games I'll just straight up start Headdress. You could also start a Buckler if you think you need a lot of armor. If you're playing against armor reduced lane with Vengeful Spirit, for example, then maybe a Buckler has more value. But I'd probably buy one of those three items, either a Headdress, Basilius, and Buckler, with like Headdress in, I'd say, 8 out of 10 games. Then the first major item we want to buy is like Mechanism. And if you want, you can also pick up all the other aura items like the Basilius and the Buckler before. If you think they will help you in lane and then also the few minutes after the lane, you can definitely build them. But I'd only advise doing this if your game is going well. If you have a bad game and you're running around with half a Mechanism and a Buckler and Basilius, you can't really help your team as much as you could with like a Mechanism, right? So if you have a good game, you can definitely buy Buckler and Basilius just to extend your lead, but if you have a bad game, skip those two items and then buy Mechanism before you buy them. Later we upgrade the Basilius and the Buckler into Vladimir's offering in most games. If you want to, you could also buy a Locket before Vladimir's if you think a lifesteal doesn't really benefit your team, but also the Vladimir's will just give like this armor aura, which is kind of good with your armor that we are already providing. So for me, I just buy Mechanism into Vlad's every game. And then at 20 minutes we want to take the Shard. Usually you will take the Shard like before the Locket, but it depends on your farm and whatever, right? So between like 20 and 25 minutes we want to take the Shard and then we want to finish the Locket. For the late game items you probably want to buy Greaves and then Refresher. In some games where you have a lot of good dispels, you like get a lot of good spells that you can dispel, like Magnus RP, Shadow Fiend Ultimate, just a lot of stuns that you can dispel, whatever, right? Like if you think dispelling your teammates globally, all 5 of them will win you the team fight, then you can also go for an Aghanims into the late game. Other pretty good items are like Pipe and Lotus Orb, I'd say, but probably Refresher and Greaves have more value than all of them in most games. For Chen, a pretty good hotkey setup is really important. For me, I use Select Hero on 1, Select all controlled units on 2, and then in Advanced Options you already have Select all other units here on 3. Those are probably the most important unit groups and the most easy to use unit groups. And then we also want the advanced unit groups. For me this is like Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Alt 4, and then also 4 and 5 normal. So let's dominate some creeps. First of all, if I press 1, I just select my hero. If I press 2, I will select all controlled units that I got. If I press 3, I select all neutral creeps that I got, but not my hero. So those first 3 groups make it pretty easy to switch between those groups. Now, a lot of neutral creeps have abilities that you want to use. For example, this Mud Golem has the boulder that stuns people, so we don't want to use the group and then always use tab. Like you could use tab to switch between the different neutrals, right? Like tab selects each individual creep, But usually if you have a lot of different creeps, that's not what you want to do. Like if you have like one stun creep and one net creep and whatever, just having through the units will just take way more time. So what you can do is like you select one, and then we had this hotkey set on 4 and 5 for me. If I hold down control and then I press 4, right, this unit is set on the hotkey 4 now. So when I press 4, I will select this unit. And then if I mark this alpha wolf, for example, and I press control 5 once, this unit is on 5 now as a hotkey group. So I can use 3 to use all of them, and then when I want to select this one golem, I will press 4, and then I can immediately use the stun. And then I can use 5 and then control the alpha wolf, for example. Right, so this is pretty easy. So for me, I use 4 and 5 and then alt 4 and alt 5. Usually you only have 4 creeps on Chen, so that's enough to make all 4 creeps active work. So now we take a look at the neutral creeps you can dominate at level 1. Keep in mind, Holy Persuasion at level 1 adds 24 bonus damage, so even dominating range creeps can be pretty useful, because they have 47 damage if you dominate them at level 1. It's a lot of damage actually. Then we have the Ghost. It has 25% movement speed slow and 25 attack speed slow for 1.5 seconds, and also a lot of damage, 47. So this is really good for trading with people. Then we have probably the best neutral camp by far, being the Harpy Stormcrafter. If you can get your hands on this bad boy, it's just incredible. Like, always take this. Like this. Can fire a lightning. The lightning has 4 seconds cooldown, it does 140 damage, and it jumps between targets. So with this you can harass both enemies at the same time in the lane. And then if you have a Ring of Basilius, this guy is just on steroids, man. You can spam lightnings left and right. It already has a lot of mana regen by itself. And then with Basilius it has even more. Then we have the Hill Troll Priest. This creep is, in my opinion, really underrated. There are not a lot of people that know that this creep is this strong. First, it has a mana aura. It provides 2.5 mana regen, which can be incredible with some heroes, like a Weaver for example, that spams a lot of spells. And then also, you can use the heal on someone, like you just press the button on someone, you press it on autocast, you use it on someone, and it will just keep healing them. I mean, I'm full HP now, so it will not heal me, obviously, but if someone is below full HP, you can just click the heal onto someone and it will just perma heal them. And the heal is 15 per like 1 second, I'd say. I'm not sure about the real cast time, but it's a lot. Like, this is a lot. This is like free Ring of Health for free. And then we got the Kobold Foreman. You can also dominate this level 1, but this is kinda crap. Like, at least in the early game this is crap. This is pretty good in the late game to move around all your other creeps faster, but this only gives a movement speed aura and it only has 14 damage, so the damage of this creep is really low and doesn't provide any real value. Those are the more late game and mid game oriented creeps for the most part. You could theoretically also take the Centaur and this Satyr level 1 if you want to, but usually they are pretty bad in the lane. The Satyr can get you some kills with the Purge. Right, the Purge is pretty good. The Purge has buffs and debuffs and also slows the enemy, so this against certain heroes this is pretty good, but usually you don't want to take those in the lane. Then for the Centaur and this Helber, those are 2 really underrated creeps also. Both of them provide the Cloak Aura, which will give you 10% magic resistance aura for all heroes, and then even 20% magic resistance for all the creeps. So if you're playing against a lot of magic, especially AoE damage, you always want to have one of those 2 bad guys on your composition from creeps. Like, this will save your creep so many times. Then we have the Satyr. This has a mana burn. This is also pretty good in the lane. You can dominate, like this creep is level 4, you can dominate this. Once you put the second point in Holy Persuasion, you can start getting the Satyr, the Frost Mage, the Mud Golem. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, those 3 creeps, you can get them after you hit level 3. And we have the Frost Mage. You can buff this creep and then all heroes and all units with this ice armor. This ice armor is incredibly strong. Like, it is so freaking strong. It is 25% movement speed slow, 25% attack speed slow, and 5 bonus armor for everyone that attacks the target that is ice armored. Like, this is so freaking strong. If you get this creep and you cast this onto your carry, he will most likely never die. Then we have the Mud Golems. They have this spell called Hurt Boulder. They can stun enemies like this. I don't really like the creep. It has a pretty low damage. You can sometimes get some kills, but the stun is not really long. It's only 0.6 seconds, so it is okay, but I'd rather have any other creep than those Mud Golems. For the Centaur, they're really strong. They have way more damage, and also they have a 2-second AoE stun for heroes and even 3 seconds for creeps. Then we have the Hellbear Smasher. The Hellbear Smasher has an AoE movement and attack speed slow that deals 150 damage, so this is pretty good to push waves. If you have 2 or 3 out of those guys, you can send them onto a wave, then use clap on all of them and the wave is dead. Also, you got a Swiftness Aura. This will increase the attack speed of everyone that's standing in 1200 radius by 15. 15 is not a lot, but it's still good, right? Combined with some other auras, this can make a difference. For the Wildwing Ripper, he offers 3 bonus armor and this Tornado. Especially in the earlier stages of the game, this creep is really good. You can also control the Tornado. Why the hell can I not control the Tornado? Probably because I did not dominate the creep. This is like a neutral creep right now. Usually you can just select the Tornado like this and then just move it around. The Tornado itself does 50% movement speed slow, 15 attack speed slow, and then also does 45 damage to near units and then 15 to damage to units that are far away. So also really strong in the lane. Like, if you have 1 or 2 of those guys in the lane, you can just send the tornadoes onto the enemies and they have to run away. Like, as you can see, those guys not even near. But if he stands like over here, he loses a lot of HP. Then for the Alpha Wolf, this is probably one of the best late game creeps that you can get. The creep itself has a 20% critical chance with 200% critical damage. It's okay. But what makes this creep so good is the Pack Leader Aura. This will increase the bonus damage of all of your creeps and all heroes and whatever by 30%. Like, this is incredible. If you can get your hands onto one of those creeps, you just press M for the move command and you just select them onto your carry. And you just let the creep follow your carry, right? This will just increase the farming potential of your carry by 30%. And you can basically just send this behind your carry all the time. You need level 5 to dominate all those creeps, like the Mud Golem, I think, is also level 5. Oh no, you can get this with like level 3. But after the Centaur, the Tomato, the Wildwing Ripper, and the Alpha Wolf, you need 3 levels in Holy Persuasion to tame all of them. For those last 2 creeps, we need level 4 Holy Persuasion, so 4 points in this, because they are level 6. The Sauter is really good because it provides 5 health regen aura. This is basically 3 Ring of Health for your whole team. And also, it has this shockwave. 8 seconds cooldown, 160 damage. The range is pretty long, as you can see here. Like, it even hits up to this point. This is really good to like get kills. If you have 2 or 3 of those, you can also like clear waves pretty easy. You can snipe a support. And then for the last creep, we have the DTS, the Dark Troll Summoner. This guy has End Snare, so you can trap people with the net. Pretty good. And also, when there's a dead unit near the troll, I can't show it to you right now because there's no unit dead. But you can raise 2 skeletons. The skeletons themselves also do a lot of damage. If you manage to get like 2 or 3 Dark Troll summoners, and then you try to push a tower and you use this raise dead like 3 times with every DTS, dude, you will crush the tower. Like, towers will melt against those guys. So after 20 minutes we are able to buy the shard. With the shard we can tame those ancient creeps over here. Those are the 4 that I would recommend taming. The ancient black dragon provides a splash attack, 3 bonus armor aura, but what makes this creep really good is this fireball ability. You can cast a fireball onto the ground and it will burn for 850 damage over 10 seconds. This is really good to push waves. Like if you have 2 black dragons, you can send 1 black dragon on the top lane, 1 on the bottom lane, and you just constantly shove all of the waves in from the trees with this. Really useful. Then we got the golem. The golem will provide a 15% HP aura. So everyone in your team gets 15% HP once he stays close to this unit. This is really freaking big. Like, your armor aura from Divine Favor combined with this bonus HP aura makes so much of a difference in teamfights. Then we got the small Ancient Rumblehide. This is a really underrated creep. It took me like some months to even realize that this guy has an ability, because all the other small ancients don't have an ability, but this one also has an aura. It increases the attack speed of all allied heroes and creeps and whatever by 25. And also it will give you an accuracy increase by 40% as an aura. So this means this has so much value if you're playing against evasion carries that build Butterfly or like Phantom Assassin, for example. This will make your carry's life so much more easy against all evasion crap. And then we have the Ancient Thunderhide. This guy has a slam. He can slam on the ground. It's 60% movement speed slow, 60% attack speed slow for 4 seconds and 2 seconds on heroes. And also he has a frenzy. He can buff up your carry, for example, like this. He gets a buff and it increases the attack speed by 75 for 8 seconds, and it has 8 seconds cooldown. So you can basically give 75% bonus attack speed to your carry all the time, which is incredible. This is like having a better version of a Solar Crest for your carry. In general, I would advise, once you get the shard, always run around with 2 ancient creeps. I think you always want the golem, but usually you just take whatever ancient creep you get. Like, there are only 2 ancient camps on the map, so most of the time it's quite hard to get the ones you want. So just take every ancient camp you can get. And then for the general creeps, I'd advise the later the game goes, the more you want to take the aura creeps. For example, like those Halber or Centaur cursors with the cloak aura. In the late game, really good. Then the armor aura from the Wild Ring Ripper, the Alpha Wolf Pack Leader aura, and the attack speed aura from the Tomato. Those are really freaking good in the late game, and in the mid game you probably want to go for more of those Centaurs and net creeps and Tournamenters, right? Like the control creeps and whatever. Also the Ogre Frost Mage is really good in the late game, just to give you a carry this armor aura. So for the early game, usually you take Divine Favor level 1 in most games, unless you're really freaking unfavored in the lane. This means if the enemies are way better than you and you have 0 potential to do anything aggressive, most of the time you want to take Holy Persuasion level 1. So we got Spectre, Chen lane against Weaver, Vengeful Spirit. So they have 2 ranged heroes, they have armor reduce, Weaver has his W, he can just run through Spectre, and we basically have nothing to offer against them. If they get level 2 before us, they have Venge Stun plus armor reduction, Weaver double hit, and Tsukushi. So if we hit level 2 before them, this will make it way more easy for us to lane. So, what we will do is take Holy Persuasion level 1 and then double wave them. Or at least play really aggressive. If we don't dominate the creep level 1, like the range creep, and they push the wave into us, they will get level 2 before us, and then we kinda lose the lane. So I will just take the range creep and then I Harris Weaver. By the way, the ceiling solve animation is just a bug. He's not actually solving. And then as you can see, I'm just running at him. I'm trying to like, deny some creeps with Spectre together. And I'm basically just zoning Weaver. So Spectre can free farm right now. I also place a sentry because of Weaver. And I just hit him. He's pretty good. He's still getting all the last hits with his spell. But as you can see, we already forced the solve, right? Spectre can farm every creep. We can even deny the range creep. We already forced the solve and there's not much they can do. Even if Venge would be here, there's not much they could do. I can just run onto them with this creep. Try to get some denies. Just harass them, right? And meanwhile, Spectre can farm. Like, taking the range creep will actually secure a carry so much farm. But if you have more aggressive potential and you're fine staticking the wave over here in the first wave, then probably Divine Favor is better. Because if you take Holy Persuasion level 1 and you dominate the range creep, this means you get less experience because this creep won't give any experience for you anymore, right? So you only want to do this in really hard lanes early on. So for the next early game clip, I want to show you a clip where I actually start with Penitence level 1 because we got Slark with Orb of Venom. As I said before, Penitence level 1 can be huge value if the enemies have a weak lane and you have a strong laner level 1 such as Monkey King or Slark and they buy Orb of Venom. They have this double melee lane with Nightstalker, Earthshaker. Both of them are really weak level 1, like they don't have anything that they can offer against us, besides like the one Fissure Stun, but that's it. As you can see, they're already positioning kinda passive behind the creeps, while Slug is positioning himself aggressive. For some reason, Earthshaker is... I think he's trying to block the camp at 1 minute, right? For some reason, he just leaves Nightstalker alone. We realize that he is alone, and then I instant take Penitence, I Penitence him, and Nightstalker just dies. Right, there's nothing you can do. Like, now he disconnected, pretty unfortunate, but even if he would not disconnect, right, like, he would just die. And now after the pause, we will just kill him. In the early game as Chen, it is pretty important to have good mini-map vision. Like right now, I can see one hero being bot, being Nightstalker, and then Earthshaker and the Lich being top. Shadow Fiend is still dead. So this tower is basically for free. The tower is full HP now and I just run at the tower with all creeps. I position one of my creeps in those trees here, just to scout for TPs. And then basically I just hit the tower. I use my spells, like this Shockwave and then I think the Chain Lightning pretty soon. And again, yeah, Chain Lightning and another Shockwave to push the creeps. And then I just hit the tower. And as you can see, the tower loses like 80% HP. Which is, by the way, the most important tower in the early game, and we just push this as a pos 5. Now Shadowfiend TPs, we just micro the creeps here, we run here, and then we use this Holy Persuasion to TP the creeps to us again, like as you can see here. Creeps TP to us, we are fine, we just got 80% of this tower for free. You really have to look for those kind of situations. Like Chen's pushing power between minute 10 and 15 is incredibly strong. Like once you gain the 4th point in Holy Persuasion and you start taking over bigger creeps like the Satyr camps and whatever, you just wanna look to push towers. I guess you can see here, I'm even trying to get more bigger creeps, right? Like I just get the Centaurs. Now I'll probably either get this Centaur Tournamenter or this Alpha Wolf. Probably the Tournamenter, yeah, because the Tournamenters are most of the time stronger in the early game. Just because they have this ability that deals 160 damage, like 30% damage is still good and I will probably dominate this pretty soon. But the nuke damage is way more important. And we rotate to the next lane, right after we've pushed mid lane tower, we force the rotation there. We rotate to the next lane, we try to win a teamfight here with Ravage. Pretty good. We even have Mechanism and then we're trying to push the lane. Right, we try to instantly get a next tower, like the next objective out of the team fight. And then as you can see with the 3 points in Divine Favor and stuff, we can just get a tower so fast. None of our creeps will die. We just get a lot of map control, we can secure that triangle, then we immediately run to the next tower, the next objective. And at least we are trying to push this. Like I think they defend if I remember correctly. But at least you can see I'm trying to play around objectives. That's really important for Chen. Try to get vision around the objectives that you want to push, and then also be close to the objectives that you want to push. Like getting early map control with Chen is most of the time pretty easy unless your team gets completely raped. So now again, we still play around the objectives. Tidehunter just blinks in here, we Zeus ulti this guy. And then we just run on the tower, right? Like I kinda tank the Lich ulti, I can just mechanism off a little bit to save Tide. And then again, I just hit the tower, I get the freaking objective. That's what we're here for. We don't really care about kills that much, we just care about getting early map control with Chen. Just to get an early lead. I kinda wanna stay a little bit behind because I'm scared for the Echo Slam of Earthshaker. That's why I don't want to run my creeps like near all of them. But besides that, the goal is to get the tower, we got the tower. That's pretty much it. That's just how you play Chen in the early game. It's really easy, you just get like a lot of strong creeps and then you just run at towers with your teammates together. Especially if you have strong teammates like Tidehunter with Ravage and stuff. As you can see here, this is 1 minute later. We took the tier 2 tower 1 minute before, now we got Ravage up again in 5. So the next thing we do, I ward around this area, I just put some wards here, and then we run at the next tower. We even have Siege Wave, we just freaking run at towers. This is what you do with Chen, it's so easy. We even counter glyph, so the Siege creep doesn't die. I put, like as you can see here, I put 1 creep in those trees, pretty important to scout for TPs. And then we just get the tier 2 tower at 60 minutes. So for the last clip, we want to take a look at us trying to siege the high ground and how to do it efficiently with Chen. So with Chen, we're at 50 minutes into the game. We got Aegis on Slug, so he's the one that will siege the high ground. For me, I got Vladmir's, I got Aghanims to dispel the Shadow Fiend ultimate stuff, and then also Echo Slam. Kinda, right? Like if they use their AoE ultimates, I can just dispel all the stuff, so my cores can use BKB and then we can counter Ravage. And then we got the Guardian Reefs. So look at my positioning and the positioning of the creeps. We let Slug siege. I place myself like here. I should probably stay a little bit closer, but I'm really concerned right now that they will just run at me with Night Stalker. So that's why I'm positioning over here. I think the most important thing here is just get off my Hand of God with the dispel. Right, and we just poke at them, we drop the wards, Slug will hit the tower, and then look at where I'm positioning my creeps. This way, Slug is still in the range of all the auras, right? He still gets the Granite Golem aura. I even buff him up with the Frenzy, as you can see, with the Thunderhide Frenzy, pretty important. This is 75% attack speed from the low ground. And then we got this, it's attack speed aura, right? I just position all my creeps over here and I just let them be here. I don't want to run at this tower with the creeps. This, like especially in this game because we're playing against Earthshaker, but also in other games you just want to let your aura creeps stand behind a little bit more. Like you don't want them to die. If your aura creeps survive for a longer time, then this will be really handy just because you have more auras. And then we kind of just poke onto the high ground, right? Like look at my positioning, I'm still standing in the back. I'm just waiting here, kinda. And then we just retreat a little bit. Get a good Ravage here. I'm still standing in the back, right? I just try to wait for my ultimate. There we go, they used Shadow Fiend ultimate. I think my ultimate was kinda unnecessary here, but because Slug just barely got off BKB, I thought he wouldn't get off BKB and that's why I used ulti to dispel him. But I don't think it matters. So now, when they're dead, we can play a little bit more aggressive. I should probably still be behind my creeps. But yeah, as you can see, I don't want to run in with my creeps onto them. I don't want to like just hit the tower and whatever. Okay, there we go. We got a pretty bad Echo Slam, but it doesn't really matter anymore because Lich is already dead and they used some buybacks and we had Aegis anyway. But in general, keep in mind, the later the game goes, the less you want to fight with your creeps. Like, you want to tame aura creeps and buff creeps, right? You want to buff up your carry with Frenzy, you want to buff up your carry with attack speed aura and accuracy aura, you want to buff up your carry with the HP aura from the other golem, whatever. And then just wait behind with your creeps. Don't let your creeps die. If your creep dies, your carry gets less attack speed, they lose 15% of their HP because of the golem or whatever, right? So keeping your creeps alive as Chen is really important. You don't just want to run at towers. Also in the early and mid game, if you just run at towers and your whole creeps die, it's pretty bad. But if you can manage to get them alive through a team fight and then get buildings afterwards, that's pretty important. Yeah, I think there's not much more to show here. They just use all the buybacks and we kind of just end the game in the next few minutes, or next few seconds rather. Right, like we kill Gyro here. Also using Penitence pretty important on the high kill threat targets that your carry is focusing. But I think that's it, right? Like now we just end. So to wrap up again on Chen, think about what kind of aura items you need, especially in the early game. Like, do you need headers, do you need bucklers, do you need Ring of Basilius, or is it better to just rush mech straight away? Also think about your skill build. Can a value point of Penitence help us in lane? Can maybe a value point of getting level 1 Holy Persuasion help us in lane? Also keep in mind the abilities of all the creeps, like that's really important. You don't need the best micro for Chen, right? You don't need to do like fancy, crazy micromanaging with all the creeps. Just get aura creeps and try to keep them alive. This will help your team enough. If you heal them up with mechanisms and you provide a lot of auras, that's enough, boys. Don't be scared to play Chen because you think you need a lot of micro. Like, yes, you need some micro, but usually it's not that hard. You press the hotkey for your stun creep and then you press stun, that's it. That's not a lot of micro. So I really advise try out Chen. He's pretty good in the patch right now. He has a lot of fun. You can stomp so many games with this hero. So just give him a shot, just try him out. Don't be disappointed the first few games. Like, this hero is not easy to learn. You need, like, I'd say like 20 to 30 games to get used to all the micro and how much you heal and all the, just to recognize all the creeps, especially if you never thought about neutral creeps before. So just play some games, give this hero a shot. He's a lot of fun. You will definitely like him, I'm sure. Have a nice day, guys. If you have any questions, as always, write down in the comments below and feel free to join me on Twitch. See you, boys.